Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you're well. There's something I want to show you. It's this little black thing here. What this is my card wallet that I keep in my pocket. Very compact. I flip it up. You got all my cards for various things, bank cards, other various things. And one very important card I have in my wallet, I'll just cover up the relevant, it's my driving license. Now, very peculiar thing about my driving license. It's got my full name. It's got my date of birth, the time to and from that my license is valid. It's got a British flag on it, unfortunately. I'd rather it was an English flag, but you can't have everything. And it's got my address. And there's even a photo of me, which gets changed every 10 years. And then on the back there, it's got all the vehicles that I'm licensed to drive. And I have grandfather rights on certain things because of the year in which I passed my driving test, a good 30 years ago. So I remember one of the old green-coloured paper licenses. I'm sure those of you that have been driving long enough remember those. Well, the point is, I can prove who I am with that card. I can prove who I am with a passport. I can prove who I am. And this is where the freemen of the land people come out and say, but it's a legal fiction. Well, you're missing the point. I can prove who I am with a birth certificate. All of my information is on those documents. So why would I need anything else? You know, the government is or was trying to push through a digital ID scheme. It's something that they've actually tried to implement for far longer than you actually realize if you do your homework on it. If you have a look at my friend of the English Constitution Society, Graham Moore, he's got extensive coverage on his Rumble channel where he tells you about an event that happened in, I think it was London a decade ago, where they talked about it very extensively then. So it has been in the pipework for an amount of time. Well, there's been a bit of a result today, and I want to go through some of the reaction to it, and you can make your own mind up. The first thing I want to show you is a video from Rupert Lowe.
Good evening, everybody. Good news. Keir Starmer has just announced he's abandoned plans to implement compulsory digital ID. I think this is hugely good news for all of us. It shows what can be achieved when sensible MPs get together and with public support make their views known. Nearly 50 MPs signed my open letter to Keir Starmer on this subject, to which we were implacably opposed. And I think we can say this is a victory for common sense. It's a victory for all of us. And we can safely say now that we retain our freedom. Another slice of it is not passed to an oppressive nanny state. We've got 3 more years to go, and we must collectively use this as a template to fight the nonsense that's being peddled and promulgated in this country now. So well done, everybody. Have a large drink to celebrate this evening. All the best.
I think Rupert makes a very valid point in that, you know, people power really works, because what's happened, you've taken a load of MPs who are opposed to this. They've clubbed together and said no, and it's obviously backed by many members of the public. That's how Parliament, that's how the whole thing should work, instead of a quango really deciding what they're going to do without consultation of the people that put them there. Very very telling, isn't it? Now, if you look at this scheme and how it's been, rolled out over other countries. I did a quick search of it before I hit the record button. And so why the exact number varies by definition, dozens of countries have digital ID systems, with prominent examples in Europe. That's Estonia, Denmark, and Spain. Asia, you've got India, China, South Korea, and elsewhere, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, offering ways to access services digitally through adoption. A mandatory status differs significantly, with over 90 nations planning or implementing such schemes. Now, if you have a look down here, we've got Estonia, who is apparently a pioneer with a comprehensive system for voting, signing documents, and healthcare. Denmark used the MitID app for banking, government, and health services. India offers a unique digital ID for identity and residence proof. China has national online identity authentication. Australia provides a voluntary digital ID app for services. South Korea offers digital identity verification for various services. UK planning a digital ID scheme, with some states already offering digital driver's licenses. Others include Chile, Germany, Italy, Malaysia, New Zealand, Singapore, and more. And obviously Vietnam is one that's been discussed. UAE is another one. Widespread adoption. Many nations are developing or have implemented digital identity frameworks. So you can see a overall overarching coordination between all of the countries with regard to what's going on. And that's something in itself. Now, what you have to think as well, and we've all fallen for this over the years, we've got too attached to these things, and they literally do everything for us: banking, messaging, loads of stuff. All of the firms that you deal with inevitably have an app that you log on to and check out whatever. You know, we've become attached to our smartphones over the last at least 30 years, maybe more. And I couldn't really function day to day with my businesses and what I do without one. That's the way the world works. So the justification is, once you're used to dealing with things digitally, wouldn't it be easy just to slide something in like a digital ID system? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Let me know what you think of that in the comments. I know what many of you are going to say. Bring back the Nokia 3310. So let's have a look and see what the feel of everything is. And again, we go back to X. I am on X, by the way. You can find me there, Gabby_Cabby. If you're over there, please follow me, and we get that up and running as well. So the headline is: UK drops mandatory digital IDs for work checks after backlash. So this is the thing, right? It's not everything by the looks. It's work checks. But what you have to be very wary of, you always put the word "for now" in front of any decision that governments make, because they can and probably inevitably will backtrack on these things later. So let's go and have a look at what's being said in more detail. So Rupert, we won. Starmer abandons plans for compulsory digital ID. This is a huge win. Well done to everyone who's been fighting, from all political parties and none. A team effort. It proves that we can make progress when we come together to fight the appalling Labour government. Now, you know, Rupert's brilliant, because he is trying to rally what support there is with his Restore Britain movement, because at the end of the day, it's public interest. You know, we need to have some kind of say on what's going on in there. Keir Starmer has abandoned plans for the digital ID to be compulsory. This is a victory for the individual liberty against a ghastly authoritarian government. Reform UK would scrap it altogether. So, you know, they're leaving out the important bit. It's for work checks only. What you have to realize is that when something like this is introduced into wherever it happens to be, they'll say, oh, you could prove who you are very easily. But then all of a sudden, all these different things that you rely on become attached to it, like a leech, you know. And what you will find eventually, and I have had private conversations with people about this, you cannot be a functional member of society without having one of these on your person. It is really very simple. Rupert again, I invited you multiple times to sign our letter opposing digital ID, which was supported by an incredible 45 MPs from across Parliament. You ignored every request for help. It's pathetic. So that's a reply to Lee Anderson. I know that. The government has scrapped its plans to make digital IDs mandatory. I find it interesting. Everybody's missing out the key point for work. This is the letter, the original letter, and you can see all the supporting names under here. You've got, Dear Prime Minister, we're writing to register our profound and passionate opposition to your reported plans for a compulsory UK-wide digital identity scheme. Such a policy would represent an unprecedented level of state control over British systems. This is a fundamental change to the relationship between the individual and the state. It's dangerous, intrusive, and deeply un-British. Screw British, it's deeply un-English and against our constitution. It risks building the foundations of a surveillance state, one that will inevitably expand in scope over time. Correct, as I was saying, you know, they sneak you in. We urge you to abandon these plans immediately. At the very least, you must commit to bringing any proposal before Parliament for full scrutiny and a free vote, and to fully consulting the public before attempting to impose such a drastic measure on a reluctant country. The British people do not want this, and the British people do not need this. Compulsory digital ID would mark a dangerous and permanent shift in the balance of power between government and governed. We will oppose it at every stage. Yours sincerely, and you can see all the MPs that have got behind it, which is excellent. You know, it's something of national importance. It really is. Now, here's another one. Peter, breaking news, abandoned plans for a digital ID, compulsory digital ID dumped. And look at that sorry individual there, old Starmer himself. Keir Starmer defeated digital ID, scrapped victory for freedom and common sense. He's announced he's abandoned all plans to implement digital ID. To everyone who stood up against it, to everyone who fought it, take a bow. Well done. We can beat this government. This is the key message here. It is people power. You know, when enough people stand up to Parliament, and at the end of the day, they are there at our behest, and we say we're not having it, then they've got no choice. Victory has abandoned plans for mandatory digital ID amid concerns it'll undermine public trust. Yes, good riddance is generic. This was always a terrible idea, which wouldn't have made any difference to tracking illegals. That's right. That was the justification and the excuse. Prime Minister is turning the corner straight into another U-turn. Get good riddance. Proud to have been part of the effort to scrap mandatory digital ID. Notice they're saying mandatory digital ID. This is ironic, isn't it? 2020, Keir Starmer, Boris Johnson and his government have lurched from crisis to crisis and U-turn to U-turn to correct one error. Even two might have made sense, but when they've notched up 12 U-turns and rising, the only conclusion is serial incompetence. I'll tell you what, I'm going to retweet that. Katie Hopkins, bless her, a huge well done to the wonderful Rupert Lowe and all the MPs who signed this letter to scrap digital ID. Not only an outstanding MP, but a thoroughly decent chap. Absolutely. You know, Rupert Lowe is one of those that really has somewhere close to the right idea of what's going on. He keeps talking of Britain and he keeps talking of British, which make my teeth itch. You know, it's all about the constitution that we have, and no one's talking about it, and it would quash a lot of this a lot quicker. This is the 13th U-turn. Total embarrassment. So you can see everything here all the way down. But there's a tweet that Ben Habib put up, and I want to see if I can find it, which raised an eyebrow because I'm of kind of similar thoughts. Let me see. There we go. Beware false gifts. Keir Starmer is not giving up on digital ID. He's just not implementing it across the board at one time. Digital ID is already being increasingly in use. We will do it incrementally until it is universal. Advance will abolish it. So we can see it for what it is, you know, giving up a part of it with the promise of the fact you've listened. So people can't drop the ball here. You've got to keep pushing. You've got to keeping ahead of this. And not only this matter, other matters as well. It's vitally important that the public become more engaged in what's going on with all of our politics. Otherwise, we're heading into a lot of trouble. And at the end of the day, you've got to educate yourself as well. If you haven't done so already, please follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. We're doing well. Follow me on X if this has popped up there. Hit the like button, leave comments, and as always, share the hell out of my stuff. I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.